welcome everyone. I hope you've enjoyed sessions today so far. You've had a great lunch break. We're at the penultimate session now in the home stretch. It's been such a cracking few days. It's a great one we've got for you now. It's about everyday participation, something we all do, right? So with our guest over the floor. Don't forget this is being recorded, so if you have to nip away, you can catch up on it later, and it's going to be online for 2 weeks. And also don't forget you can ask questions in a couple of ways. So either you can put it in the chat box or keep the lively discussion going, but also feel free. Oliver would like to invite some participation from the audience. So if anybody wants to jump on and share their audio and video, we'll let you know when you can do that, because you'd be most welcome. So to introduce you to Oliver, Oliver has an interest in economic democracy and a background in community ownership, having helped to take Bath City Football Club into community ownership and served on the board of Supporters Direct. He now works as a senior strategist at New Citizenship Project, helping organisations to develop more participatory cultures, while also studying, I don't know how you're doing this as well, mate, the sociology of community ownership as a part-time doctoral researcher at Goldsmiths College. So welcome, Oliver. We're so pleased to have you here.
Bags under my eye.
I imagine, is that because we've kept you up? I'm imagining as well, there's lots of threads that we're discovering sort of throughout the festival that are really meshing together. So we might even be able to bring in some previous sessions that we've all been to that relate to this conversation as well.
Absolutely.
But I will hand over the floor to you.
Okay, thanks so much. Yeah, it's a really great pleasure to be here. Yeah, I've been a STIR subscriber for a couple of years. I was at the festival last year in Frome, and it was a great sort of honor and privilege to be presenting. And I've just been really inspired by all the great talks that we've had over the last couple of days. So yeah, kind of final stretch now, but yeah, I'm sure you're all feeling as inspired as me. I guess before I go into any further, I want to try and make this as interactive as possible within the obvious constraints that we've got. So I'm going to propose sort of three parts to this. I'll introduce myself a little bit more and New Citizenship Project as well, but also introduce like the wider problem that we were trying to solve by developing these modes of participation. So I think there'll be probably something that most people will find quite familiar. I'll then spend sort of maybe 20 minutes or so talking through the 7 modes, which is basically our contribution to the problem, our kind of provisional sort of solution or kind of contribution to this problem. And then finally, at the end, I mean, of course, I'll do a Q&A of any questions you have about the 7 modes that we describe. But I really want to hear how other people have dealt with this issue of participation in the democratic economy. What things have worked, what things haven't. I think particularly around the question of inclusion and participation, I'd really love to hear about that. So yeah, absolutely, I would invite anyone who wants to come step up and join me on the virtual stage by sharing audio and video, and we can do that. Okay, does that sound good? Maybe just write chat, just put sounds good in the chat if that sounds good. And I'll get started. Okay, so thank you so much, Hannah, for sounds epic. That's Hannah. Okay, thank you so much, Hannah, for the introduction. As you say, I've been involved. Yeah, I'll introduce myself a little bit more first. So I've been involved with the community ownership movement for 5 years. I was involved with the community takeover at Bath City Football Club. If you look very closely at that picture, you've got Ken Loach in the middle, socialist film director, Bath City fan. I'm just behind him. I'm right in the back there. So yeah, we worked very hard putting that together. It took us sort of 2 years to get to the point where we were able to take the club into community ownership. And I think we experienced something that probably many kind of naive, well-meaning community groups experience when you do these community takeovers, that we assumed that by creating a democratic ownership structure, as soon as we flicked the switch and became community owned, there'd be this massive outpouring of democratic engagement and just general participation would all kind of just come flowing through naturally because, look, it's a democracy, it's a community thing, it's yours. And, guess what? Spoiler alert, this didn't quite happen right away. And it's been this kind of ongoing puzzle for us that we haven't cracked at Bath City Football Club, so we haven't cracked it yet. But this puzzle of how do we get people to engage people are coming through the turnstiles, but people aren't necessarily coming to AGM. The governance, is hard to fill positions on the board, and so on and so forth. And yeah, so I wonder, maybe some of you guys are experiencing the same thing. Maybe you're a community business, but the community isn't quite participating or really getting engaged. Maybe you're a co-op and you've got members, but they're not as actively participating as you want. Maybe you run some kind of campaign or just a kind of community organization, charitable activity, and again, you just haven't really got that kind of traction and the kind of rich relationships that you like. That you'd like to kind of achieve with people. So yeah, like how do we get people to get really stuck into what we're doing? How do we build this kind of strong relationships and attachments? Yeah, Susan Seal's already saying ringing bells here. All sounds familiar. Lol. Actually, what would be great, if you don't mind, maybe in the chat, could you just put down like briefly like just the broad category of the kind of organization that you're with? So just co-op, social enterprise, charity, initiative, or maybe you're just a consultant, maybe you're a consultant. Just very briefly, to give me a little flavor of just sort of who I'm talking. Worker co-op. Workers co-ops. Okay, brilliant. Yeah, CBS, social enterprise, worker co-op, transition initiative, public sector all the way. Simon, brilliant. Yeah, CLTs, community hub, CIC, housing co-op, CIC. Okay, so we have quite a broad charities. Yeah, we have quite a broad crowd here. Okay, excellent. Okay, so but we've all kind of faced this. We've all faced this kind of issue, right? So anyway, last year I joined the new Citizenship Project, NCP, as we like to abbreviate it to, not the car park. And in part, one of the reasons I joined them was because I saw this report on everyday participation, and it really piqued my interest. And I sort of got in touch, and so one thing led to another, and now I work there. So anyway. We at NCP, our mission is to build a more participatory society, more participatory economy, more participatory politics, and more participatory communities. We're trying to shift the story of the individual in society from a passive kind of consumer to an active citizen. And so we're a consultancy and think tank that works with organizations to help bring that shift into fruition. And we worked across all different sectors, so Co-op Group, The Guardian. We're currently working in Kirklees Council, kind of doing local government work as well. So we kind of work across the board. So given that we're trying to bring about a more participatory economy and society, unsurprisingly, we are kind of participation nerds, right? We're fascinated by the different dimensions of participation, different styles, different flavors, different practices, different modes. It's a question that we're kind of obsessed with. Because, I mean, to say the obvious, participation can take many different forms. Now, again, it sounds obvious, but it's a really important point to underline, because what we've seen is that sometimes as organizations try to increase participation, they can actually limit themselves by only focusing on the kind of the one or two modes of participation that they're already used to. So if you're a social enterprise, you're just thinking, how do we get more people to buy our product? If you're a membership organization, you're thinking, how do we get more people to join as members? How do we get more people to stand for our committee? If you're a campaign group, you're thinking, how do we get more people to sign our petitions? You've got your kind of theory of change and your action, and you just kind of focus on those core activities. I think the exciting challenge for us is how can you expand and enrich the way that you think about participation to create more avenues, open more doors, create more opportunities for people to get involved in different ways. That doesn't mean that you abandon or move away from the traditional modes or kind of core modes that you're used to using. But we just want to nudge people to think a bit more holistically, I guess, about how you invite people in to participate. Because the hope is that if you widen your thinking, you will draw more people in to participate. And we would hope that if you offer more diverse ways to participate, you might get more diverse people participating. And that'd be, we're very interested to explore that later in the Q&A. So, all right, I'm going to introduce this project, just to give you a bit of the background of how this came about. This came out of some work that NCP originally did with the cooperative movement. So we ran a collaborative innovation project with a Co-op Group, Lincolnshire Co-op, Phone Co-op, and Nationwide, which was a mutual, to explore how they can increase and enrich participation. And the question here was, how can cooperatives work together with staff and customers and members to achieve more and not just sell products? And by achieve more, we meant both commercially, but also in terms of their social impact. And I should just clarify, we think that this, we developed this with co-ops. We think this applies more broadly. But this is what we discovered, in this kind of collaborative process. This is rough cooperatives tend to engage with people. There's economic participation on the one hand, so buying products, choosing options, maybe giving some customer feedback. And then there's governance, voting for representatives, standing for committees, making big strategic decisions. And yeah, we just found that many co-ops were kind of focusing on one or the other of these two parts. So one being quite a light touch, simple way that there's maybe mass participation on the economic side, and the governance side, you're usually getting a small number of people who are kind of really into it, but it's hard to grow that. So what we sort of uncovered through this process was that there's really fertile ground, we think, for innovation and engagement that's in the middle there. It's in these what we call these everyday practices. So they're slightly more fluid than the kind of governance practices, but they're a bit more involved as well than simply just buying and kind of economic exchange. And as we started to explore this middle space, we arrived at this idea of kind of everyday participation as something that can be useful for co-ops. And yeah, here are I'll put them here up front. We identified 7 ways from that from that process. We kind of crystallized this into 7 modes, which you can use to enable people to participate. Again, not to replace the traditional ways that you're already doing it, but these are possible new ways in for people to begin contributing to your mission and getting involved with your organization. So as promised, what I will do right now, I will outline each one in turn. I'll give an example of an organization which has used it, and I'll give you some potential starting points or kind of questions that you might use as a kind of jumping off point to create your version. If you want, this would be really cool. If any of these modes kind of gives you an idea right away of what your worker co-op or your campaign or such an enterprise might want to do, please do jump in and put it in the chat. That would be really cool if people wanted to do that. Or indeed, if it reminds you of something you're already doing, or something you've already seen someone else doing, again, put it in the chat, and we can almost build a little mini encyclopedia of examples as we go. Okay, I'll have a quick sip of water and then dive in. Great. Okay, so where am I? The first mode of participation we identified was tell stories. And what we mean by this is not you telling stories, but when you invite people to share their stories about why your organization or its purpose and mission is special to them. So you're giving people a framework and a structure to share their personal experiences as they relate to your mission. Some inspiration here is The Brigade. It's a social enterprise restaurant in London that provides apprenticeships to help homeless people find employment in the hospitality sector. And what they do there is that throughout the venue, there are framed photographs of the staff with introductions to their stories. I mean, this is something which not only sort of builds and boosts the kind of staff confidence and pride, but also showcases the purpose of the brigade to diners. So it gives an opportunity for workers to participate beyond simply giving their labor. Just thinking about more broadly how this could be useful, these sorts of authentic stories of people's personal experience of your kind of business or organization's purpose, they can serve as quite effective marketing tools and awareness raising tools, but also kind of harvesting. I shouldn't say harvesting. Creating a platform for these kind of simple and shareable stories is also kind of useful market research. It's actually a good way of learning more about what people research into how you can develop your campaign or so on, or even for capturing and communicating your social impact. So it's really useful to get people telling stories. A possible starting point. So here's just some questions you might ask yourself or your team if you take this away. How could collecting and sharing stories help you build confidence, focus, or celebrate what you do? What stories could people tell or share on your behalf? And how could you invite people to tell their stories? What kind of mechanisms? Just seeing if anyone's going to bite. Not yet. Okay, I'll let you keep thinking about that. Okay, second one is gathering data. And again, this is not you gathering data. This is asking people to collect information with you as part of a data gathering exercise. The inspiration that we've got here is the RSPB, who run the Big Garden Birdwatch every year. It's got quite a famous program, with inviting people to become citizen scientists by sharing sightings of specific birds in their gardens and localities. And the key thing here is that by harnessing citizen power and kind of this idea of citizen scientists, the RSPB has not only created a data set that it could never have built on its own. So there's a real sort of scientific or kind of is a useful resource in that respect. But it's really forged a deeper engagement with members and the public, kind of giving them this opportunity to contribute to and help shape the future of the charity. So it goes beyond simply, I pay my money as a member and they go and do all the great work for me. So yeah, I mean, more generally, I think this kind of data gathering, it can be a really useful way to develop your services, products, and your policies. But it can also be a really good campaigning tool if you're trying to harness the energy and capacity of your supporters to develop an evidence-based campaign around systemic change. Then having them gather the data as part of that sort of adds some legitimacy and engagement to that. So as a starting point, you might ask yourselves, what information will be really great to get, but really needs more perspectives than just our own? And yeah, what data could members help you gather that would help you to make the case for a change that you want to see in the world? Okay, moving on to our third mode, share connection. So this is about kind of providing an incentive, a structure, and a purpose for your supporters or customers to talk about your business or organization and its mission and purpose to others. So to connect you to more people or indeed to connect to each other. The inspiration we've got here is something called 3 Things for Calgary. This was a participatory project started by the mayor of Calgary in Canada in 2010. It was basically an online mechanism that helps citizens identify 3 acts they're going to take, 3 actions, big or small, that will make a positive difference in the places where they live. But the key part of it was that once you sort of made this sort of commitment and chosen these acts, you then invite and encourage at least 3 people to do the same. It's a bit like the ice bucket challenge, I suppose. I mean, maybe that's the kind of the most famous example of this. But the key thing being is that you create a kind of a structure and a purpose for people to open up their social networks, allowing people to kind of contribute to something meaningful in a kind of fun, engaging way, or really kind of capitalizing on the power of their social networks. Yes, it is less painful than the ice bucket challenge. So this mode we think is a great marketing tool. If you're running a business, particularly for harnessing that reach of social media, but also I think probably a good campaign. Insofar as it encourages and equips members to communicate with each other about the organization's purpose within their networks, both sort of digitally and in person. Yeah. Oh yeah. We have. Yeah. I'll come. Yeah. We get some good contributions in the chat, so I'll come back to. So yeah, a starting point for this could be asking yourselves, how can you tap into people's social networks and ties in a structured way to make your purpose spread further? And if you want inspiration, one thing could be just think, when's the last time that you did something for another organization along these lines? What can you learn? When's the last time you sort of put, pressed retweet or added some personal content or, invited your friends to participate in something that someone else is doing? And think about how that worked and what you might. Okay, number 4 is contribute ideas. So yeah, basically sharing a problem or an opportunity that you're working on with a wider group of people outside your organization and asking for their ideas. I think this is especially effective for product or service innovation, or kind of overall ideas of how your business could do better, or for any kind of big unsolved strategic challenges that require people to think or act differently. The example we've given here is Co-op Group. They worked for over a year, working with members to develop a new travel insurance product. So members were able to kind of share experiences of buying and claiming on insurance products and suggest kind of new ideas through online surveys and face-to-face workshops. the key thing here is that it wasn't sort of like customer feedback or focus group testing. The members were involved from the very beginning to develop it and prototype those ideas, not just kind of brought in at the end for sort of market testing. And there's also real emphasis on attracting ideas and perspectives from members with sort of very specific unmet needs in the kind of travel insurance space. They've also achieved quite promising results with member-designed wine, which you can see here. So it's quite hard to visually show travel insurance, so I've gone with the wine instead. But they've done also kind of member-designed wine and pizza as well, which have done very well because they've sold a lot faster than they would expect because of that member involvement. One point for that. Yeah, is there a challenge that you've been facing that could really benefit from some kind of group thinking or collective intelligence? And yeah, how can you use your communication channels or your kind of maybe your physical premises, depending on the COVID situation, to kind of pose a question or a challenge to your supporters to kind of attract them in an open-ended way and see what comes back. What might that invitation look like? Okay, number 5, give time. So we're talking here about volunteering, but particularly we're talking about offering people opportunities to do sort of short but meaningful tasks to help your organization. So as opposed to maybe like a more structured volunteering, I'm sure many of your organizations probably depend on people volunteering on a pretty much full-time basis or regular basis. This is more about how can you make sort of bite-sized chunks that people can just sort of try out. The inspiration is the Park Run, obviously very famous example. Each local park run is run entirely by volunteers, so it's only really possible because people are giving their time. I think it's probably quite an important factor that whatever it is you're doing, it can only be done through volunteering. And I think what's interesting about Park Run is that the way it's set up is there's a very wide range of volunteering and participation opportunities depending on people's interests and abilities. So it's easy for people to kind of find a slot they can fit into. And I think, at this point, over 4 million participants so far in Parkrun, but over 500,000 volunteers have supported it. So it's huge, really. So why is it useful? I think it's a good way. I think this is a really good way to give people a different view of your organization by inviting them to get involved from the inside in a really hands-on manner, without necessarily committing to, give their lives away to kind of working for you. And I think it also can give people a different view of their community by doing this, which I think can build empathy and cohesion. And it can also enhance your own social impact. Questions you might start from: what are kind of simple, short tasks that people could do for or with you? And how might you invite people to give their time towards achieving goals that you share in common? Okay, getting into the home stretch. This is a real favorite of ours. Number 6, learn skills. So this is around, how can you provide opportunities for people to share and learn skills that relate to your goals and relate to your organization? The inspiration, I'm sure some of you will be familiar with the Restart Project, a social enterprise that encourages and empowers people to use their electronics for longer by actually equipping them with the skills and resources to repair them, rather than just kind of chuck them away. I think what's interesting about Restart Cafe, I think whereas a repair cafe, repair cafes are obviously amazing and I use them. What's kind of interesting and different about Restart Project is that rather than kind of repairing the electronics themselves, they're trying to catalyze a movement of repairers. They run these sort of restart parties with party kits that hosts can use, and the hosts are there actually try to share their repair skills and knowledge and kind of upskill people. Guests are able to kind of learn in a kind of very fun and informal environment. But yeah, they're actually spreading those skills out to their base. So as a starting point for that, you might ask, what skills do you have that you could easily share or teach? Or particularly, how could you become a platform for your supporters to teach each other skills related to your mission? So it's not necessarily just about you creating a training offer and just imparting skills. It might be that, But what would be really cool is what if you got everyone teaching each other skills that would sort of help your mission be pushed forward. So what would a kind of simple workshop or teach-in type look like at your organization? Okay, I'm going to say a final one. Yeah, well, sorry. I meant to change this. Crowdfund innovation. We drop the innovation usually when we get this presentation because it's a bit, but basically crowdfunding is kind of what we're talking about. Maybe what we mean is crowdfund new things. So perhaps if you're a city farm, you might crowdfund a duck pond. I don't know whether the duck pond is innovative or disruptive, but it's just a new thing. But yeah, so it'd be the basic idea being asking people to fund new products or services or features, so on, before they exist. Or kind of adding features, improvements to your existing products and services. I mean, the really obvious example in our world is, community share offers, taking over pubs and, football clubs, sticking up solar panels, building new stadiums, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's kind of crowdfunding on a major scale. But I think possibly kind of simple reward-based crowdfunding campaigns could also work for smaller scale projects. Where you're just trying to support the development of a new product or a new service or program or new feature. It doesn't have to be like a huge strategic thing necessarily, because I think the advantages would be when you sort of do it this way, a lot of your new product development and concept testing. I think as we saw a little bit with the co-op example before, with the people giving ideas. You can build a lot of member engagement and loyalty towards a thing before it even exists. You have an audience for a product before it even exists. So that can be a really good way to reinforce relationships and loyalty between customers and your existing products and services. So yeah, starting point for that. What's an idea that you've been sitting on for a while that others could help make a reality with a bit of capital? And yeah, how could you come up? I mean, this is thinking about the rewards. Like, what kind of rewards could you offer? What kind of experience or non-financial reward could you offer to people who contribute money that might build that engagement further? Okay, so right, those are the 7. Just finally, before we kind of go over the Q&A, I just want to, this is the last slide. Just want to share this. These are the 3 principles that we encourage organizations to embrace when they're starting to design, in general, a more participatory strategy or culture. So this might help to guide you as you put the 7 modes into practice. So it's purpose, platform, prototype. Purpose is just making sure that you've got the right starting point when you begin to generate ideas. Ideas for participation and opportunities. It can always be tempting to start by thinking, how do we get more people involved in what we're already doing? And it's maybe good to shift that to how can we get people to participate more widely in our purpose and our mission, which or rather, the shared mission that we have, the mission we share with our supporters. How can we make that happen? So just kind of widening out your scope of vision a little bit. The platform bit means asking, does this participation opportunity that we're generating actually give people agency? Like, does it really allow them to take genuine action for the wider cause that they care about, so with you? Does it tap into their creativity, their unique experiences, as opposed to just ask you? So, for example, the 3 things for Calgary, it wasn't the government saying, here's 100 things that'd be really great if you guys could do, pick 3 of them. People generated their own ideas, it was their own creativity. So that's quite important. And the final thing I would just say would be prototype. We would really encourage organizations not to sort of overthink or overplan these kind of participation opportunities too much. They're supposed to be everyday and fluid, so just try them out. Just try a simple version, see what works, learn by doing, etc., etc. It doesn't have to be expensive or time-consuming. I think that's usually the pushback we get. It's like, oh, we just haven't got time. This would be great, but like, oh, it's another thing, isn't it? You can start small and just see where it takes you. And if it's not delivering benefit, then try something else. So, but yeah, you don't need to kind of massively overthink it. Okay, so there you go. I'll leave those up just as a reference point in the slides. But yeah, that's our contribution to this question of how do we do it. I'm just going to start scanning the chat now, see what other people are saying as well.
That's
or
great,
having.
and I just wanted to jump in on as well. Like, it's really exciting. I feel like it's really relating to a couple of chats that we've had previously in the festival. So talking with Math Pots about bad kindness, and it's really interesting how, you know, often we can think we can sort of issue out kind acts that actually there's no reciprocity in. And I think what's really exciting about participation is that, you know, there are themes of kind of, we've got service users and service providers, and actually that's such a disempowering language to use, and the language of participation is such an invite. And at the same time, you know, what's really nice about the festival, talking about like play and opportunities to be creative, and actually it seems like with every single one of the 7 modes, there's so many opportunities to play with that, and you know, and share ideas and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm really keen now, if anybody's interested, to, I don't know if you were going to say this as well, Oliver, to get people to come up and chat with us if you're interested. But while we're waiting, should we have a look at some of the comments that people have dropped in?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I can pick some people who I can invite. Jojo Spinks talking about we recruit. Yeah, I mean, Jojo, I don't want to put you under pressure, but if you'd like to come up and tell us a bit more about this, you recruit a kind of single participant for activity in their neighborhood. I see, yeah. Don't accept funding in place. So,
great.
Yes, oh, here we go. Please, yeah. You jump in.
Add her now. I think she's coming in. So I think once I've asked for her to join, she just has to click on accept, I think. That's great. And then we'll see if we can line anyone else up who might want to come and join us as well. Who have we got? Yeah, I don't know, Sylvie, if you might be interested as well, Sylvie Rackham, to talk about. Don't feel like you have to, by the way, but you are more than welcome. I have invited Jojo, but do you want to pop into the comments, Jojo, if you're, oh, I don't think it's working for you. Oh, no problem. Okay. Oh, that's a shame. Do feel free to try again, but
Rachel as well. Rachel was talking about using pre-sales to prove demand for environmental products in local shops, which also helps small businesses take leaps to do things like install a refill station, and helps the community feel the ownership in that project. Yeah, again, a form of kind of crowdfunding or pre-sales, I think can be very effective.
oh, great. Let's have a chat with you, Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Hiya.
How's it going?
It's good, thank you. Yeah, it's really good. I'm very much enjoying Stir to Action.
Brilliant.
And this session in particular, yes, people at the beginning were saying love the new Citizenship Project, and me too. Yeah, I just was actually going to make a comment about play and the tone in which you do things, and how that invitation is really welcome. And like, just so we my company's called Our Pledge, and it is effectively crowdfunding, but we always make sure people know that they're basically just pre-buying things and proving demand, and it helps everyone kind of make this change together. But I just really flippantly at one point was like, oh, you know, people who pledge, we'll call them pledgeons. And so anyone who pledges is a total pledgeon, and they got a total pledgeon tote bag. And I've never had so much positive feedback for a pun in my life. And I just think that sort of playful tone really, really helped. And so, yeah, I just wanted to kind of reiterate that point, that the joy of doing something together is really, really welcomed. And I think particularly in environmentalism, there can be a real heaviness to, oh God, I've got to do this thing. And, oh, you know, like there's so many, it's too big. And if you can do a little bit of, you know, human nature wants to play, wants to get together, wants to, you know, feel safe, like they're amongst other people. Like that's another thing that I think crowdfunding helps with, is like, oh, well, they're doing it and they're doing it, so I can do it. And that makes me feel part of the community. And then we had a party for everyone at the end. And again, we thought no one would come, and we couldn't fit everyone in. So it was, yeah, I just wanted to kind of really celebrate that spirit of play.
No, excellent. Thank you. No, I totally agree. And just thinking, yeah, how can we find more ways in for people that are just a bit simpler and friendlier? And again, it doesn't mean that you then think, oh, well, AGMs are rubbish and they're pointless, let's not worry about them. But it's, if that's your first offer to people, then you're always going to struggle.
Yeah, for sure. And people do want to talk about things. Like, people are curious, but I think one thing that I'm definitely aware of is that there can be a sort of anticipated reticence around getting involved with something if you don't normally have those conversations, or you think there's a type of person who works with their community, whatever, and actually when it gets down to it, everyone wants to get involved and feel like they've done something that's positive. So yes, that making it sort of welcoming is also really, really good.
No, thank you.
I will leave the chat.
Nice, thanks, Rachel. That's great. We've had Wes is saying pledgens and disruptive ducks. This is my session of the week. Quite proud of that. And then Andrew saying, regarding play, why not have a carnival? Maybe we can really have a participation party.
Yeah. Maria's giving great examples as well. I don't know if you want to join in, or we can just read out what you said, Maria, but the examples of calling your community champions morale officers. Oh, yep, she's going to join.
Working, yeah.
Hi, Maria.
Yeah, no, it's we had a nature group, and I jokingly called it tree huggers, and everyone was like, "Oh, you can't call it that, ha 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 ha." And we stuck with it, and we have a group, and we meet regularly with them. And the ladies of support group was a really funny one, because I just called it Sweaty Betties, because that's what happens. And people just thought it was hilarious, so they wanted to find out more. So it's something that we've talked about. We have a lot of different projects and activities within our organisation, and throughout all of it, we've tried to keep a sense of humour. We don't like sort of meetings and committees and all that kind of stuff. We like to just get on with it. And we've found that by changing the language that we use in everything that we do to show the real side of us. So when we make mistakes, we'll take a photograph of it and stick it on social media. We'll keep everything light and happy, and it really seems to give that you're real, you're person, you're all in it together. We're probably an organisation that we've actually kind of got total imposter syndrome the whole way through, but actually we're doing it and we're making it happen. So are we really imposters? But that's how we feel, so that's what we put across, and actually it makes things happen. So it's been really, really interesting to hear today what you've been talking about, because we've actually tapped into most of the 7 things that you've done, and we're experimenting with it. Brilliant. And at the moment, we've got a morale officer project, which is working out of mutual aid, but gathering people together. And we decided we'll just call them morale officers, and we put it on the back of a T-shirt, and people are like, "Oh my God, that's brilliant!" It's about people smiling at each other. It's not, it doesn't have to be any more than just smile at your neighbours with a T-shirt on. Check in with them. So yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Great. That sounds really good.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Maria. Great. Well, I'm just going to see, Maria, you're happy to press the little leave button. Not that we want to boot you off, obviously, but
finding it.
Don't worry, that's fine.
Bye.
We got it. Bye. And we've got Phil's just said he doesn't mind popping in, so I'll just see if he wants to pop in and ask. And in the meantime, while we're waiting for that, Roxy's just asked, any climate action groups here? Would love to hear experiences to get ideas for my local climate action group. We want to engage as many people as possible. So yeah, flag up if you are. And then
it'd be interesting just in general, people on the call, like if you're a climate action group and how would you use these stories? How do you use these modes? Like, what are the things you could get people to gather data around to build a case? How do you get people to tell stories that were around climate action? Like, what would that look like? People have ideas. We can do a little collective thinking now, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've just asked Phil to join, so maybe if he gives us a little bit of a sort of his experience of participation with Home Farm, and then I wonder if we could almost do a little brainstorm or something, see how it goes. Great. I've just invited Phil, so see if he pops up. This is very exciting. So nice hearing people's projects, and just that element of fun is so critical. Really, really nice. How you doing, Phil? I wonder if you're having a similar problem that we had earlier. Could possibly be. I can't see how to join. So have you tried the oh, because you must have already pressed the blue button in the right hand corner. Do you want to try pressing it one more time, and then a little white box should come up that's asking about your sort of audio and video preferences, and if you scroll down that box, it's got a blue button at the bottom that says apply or join, something like that. But in the meantime, might see, does anyone else want to have a go as well? Because I think we've still got a good 20 minutes to chat through stuff.
Susan Steele has talked about, so this, I guess this is kind of a governance thing in a way, the idea of the mini citizens assembly format. It's like, I'm scrolling up, you're from a workers co-op, Susan, is that right? Join if you're free. So yeah, adopting a mini citizens assembly format to engage more members in the decision-making process, randomly selecting a group of members, supplying them with an information pack, giving them time to read it and digest it, and then come together for a facilitated discussion to reach a collective decision which can be fed back to the board. I'd be really interested to learn more about how that's been effective, how that's worked. But also whether you think these other types of kind of lighter touch everyday participation, kind of less structured modes could be useful in the context of a workers' co-op. If that is indeed, I'm scrolling back. I'm pretty sure.
Susan's put Suma, Whole Foods.
Oh right, okay, yeah, of course, yeah. But whether that could be, whether those other lighter touch ones might be a way of increasing some engagement as well. So if you're able to join, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're having a few suggestions coming in sort of specifically for climate action. So we've got Andrew saying Divest East Sussex, made chicken masks and had a Zoom party with people invited to Holtaway to highlight how fossil fuel investments are coming home to roost as they become stranded assets. God, people are so clever. So clever.
That's a whole other mode you've invented there. I don't know.
Yeah, number 8.
Number 8. Chicken party. Love it.
Yeah. Great. So what else have we got? And then Rachel sort of put a description of our pledge and what you get up to. I'm going to try, if we've got someone else come on and talking, and Mo, to put up a few links to some of this stuff that you're all doing and you're all up to, because I know it'll probably be a really interesting resource. So I think in the meantime, until someone else maybe wants to come and join us, a question for you, Oliver, is maybe, how can people sort of directly interact with the new Citizenship Project? There are multiple ways to kind of come and work with it and take ideas and inspiration from it.
I mean, please do. I'll put our website in the chat now. I guess we have over the years. We do both kind of direct consultancy with organizations, so typical sort of client work, so to speak, but we also do run collaborative innovation programs, at least sort of once a year or so, where we'll bring together kind of 6 to 8 organizations for 9 to 12 months and work around a particular question. It's usually around one sector. So we've done something, we did work in the future of food and food citizenship. We've done work in the cultural heritage sector, the cooperative sector, which is this project I'm describing now, the membership organizations, the whole thing around the future of membership. And with those collaborative innovation processes, we produce reports and toolkits off the back of them. So if you go to our website and have a poke around, we've developed a number of these kind of toolkits, a number of these sort of structures and frameworks, like all quite easy to use, I hope, and kind of user friendly. So please do check out our website and see what other kind of resources and toolkits that might fit your organization, or inspire you to be able to run little mini workshops and things, with your stakeholders. I think that would be great. I've been trying at the moment to get something together around the future of mission-led business. So if there are people who are interested in talking about that, and sorry, in particular, like how you can use mission-led business as a platform for people to do more than just buy your ethical product, but actually take other types of action. And actually, I'm kind of stuck actually. So if anyone wants to talk to me about that'd be great. You can contact me directly.
That sounds good. Yeah. So I've had a request from Nick, and I'm very happy to do this, Nick. Can we all download our engagement ideas for climate action onto a shared document somewhere? Because it is hard sometimes to come up with ideas that are fun and yet get the message across. Nick, yeah, I'm very happy to do that. I'll have a think. I'll have a think about the best platform to do that on, but I'm sure that's a possibility. And then question from Holly.
Yeah.
The idea of play really appeals to me, but I am shy. Do you have any thoughts on navigating shyness in this kind of work, both for facilitators and for community members whose inhibitions might get in the way? A really important question.
Yeah, and I don't know if someone who's kind of in the play, has done stuff with play, wants to either jump back in or answer in the chat. I mean, I guess one of the things from the perspective of you talk about the modes of participation, I think one of the things about it is that you can use these modes to develop different levels of collectiveness around each participation opportunity, and different levels of having to be face to face with other people. Someone actually kind of criticized this, I think fairly, critiqued it by saying all of these modes you're suggesting are quite individualistic. People just kind of are still individually coming and contributing an idea or doing something for you. Like, it doesn't speak as a collective. I think you can kind of decide what degree of collectivism you bring into each of these modes, or each one of these participation opportunities. But yeah, where people are maybe shy and don't want to get in a room with people and sort of tell their story in front of a bunch of people, then yeah, things like gathering data, your own, and feeling a sense of participation in the project without having to be extroverted. I think if you start to use these different modes, you can start to hit different people with different kind of sensibilities. So yeah, I think that's, anyway, that's from my perspective. Yeah, if other people who are know more about play have a better answer to that. Maria saying for those facilitating, it's really a case of working on self-confidence first. Nick saying check out the Quiet Connections for tools. Oh, Quiet Connections has tools in it. Yeah. Both people that run it are shy, but run their own social enterprise. That's great.
Great. And then, Jojo's got a participation framework. We make it clear there's lots of different ways to get involved, including online only options. Great. And someone suggested a G Drive, so a Google Docs. So I'll go and set one of those up now and share it. Great. So I've got about 12 minutes. I know we can cram loads into that. So I'll just have a scroll up through again. Don't forget, if you want to jump in and join us, do just request to share audio and video. And then, let's just have a look. So, great. I've got Nick. Brilliant. And Nick, I was just about to read Nick's, Nick likes dressing up. Which is no bad thing, Nick.
That sounds bad. I was starting to write a really long-winded message and my typing is getting tired, so I thought I'd just come on and say storytelling thing is a thing that's really important, but it's the hardest thing about being in the climate emergency and not being all doom and gloom. And I think that's why so many people have switched off, and it's not because the storytellers isn't good. They literally don't want to know, because it's their way of denying it's happening, and they're scared. And so it's so when you're storytelling, what you're always trying to do, I think, is trying to say what would the alternative look like, because the problem is that we don't have an alternative to the apocalyptic doom message, which the world's going to end, it's all going to be shit. So what's the alternative? And because it's such a vast problem, so interconnected, and it's systems change and a whole range of different issues, it's actually really hard to kind of I find it really hard anyway to kind of get across to people what the utopia is going to look like, if you see what I mean. I don't know if you've got any tips.
Well, I mean, so the way you're framing it is that you are the one telling the story to other people. And I wonder what the space would be like. I don't know what it would look like, but I wonder what the space would be like within the climate movement to give a platform for people to tell their stories about climate, maybe their journey from having their head in the sand to caring about it, or maybe simply saying, I've adopted these new lifestyle changes and here's how it's going.
Yeah.
When I first got my local veg box, I thought, oh, there's a lot of mud on this. This is like, oh, but now I really love the fact that they send me stuff I don't know what it is, and I just, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's the thing, getting out of maybe the persuasion mindset, where you are the one persuading in the movement the ordinary people to come join you. I mean, obviously keep doing that. That's a separate thing, and that's the storytelling or storytelling. But how do you also create a platform for people to tell their stories about what this means to them? You know,
I mean,
first March, you know, that kind of stuff. I mean, that's where I'd encourage you to maybe have a look and just see if it works. Just, you know, try it out, see if that kind of
when I talk, I tell the story from my own journey and what I've done to try and change my lifestyle, blah blah blah. But I think the problem is that's quite a long conversation. So it's trying to find when people say, well, okay, if we all ditch fossil fuels or we stop cars, and how am I going to get to work? And it's, you know, it's always they kind of like the things you come up against, and obviously there are obvious answers, but it's kind of it's such a complicated future to envisage because there's so many things that need to change. They're all interconnected, and that's the bit I think probably what I'm trying to do too much is probably paint the bigger picture. I should actually be just concentrating, like say, on the small things. But the problem is we haven't got, what I find frustrating, I suppose, is I find, you know, we haven't got time to just do the small things. The small things are really important, but actually we will do the really big things as well. And that's about whole systems change, whole lifestyle change.
So Nick, actually, and I think Rachel's posted it in the comments as well. Really interesting. Our festival last year, Rob Hopkins came and did a session based sort of on his what is to what if scenario. Imagining, and it was really great because we did. I don't know if you were there. But we did this collective storytelling where he went through the alphabet and he told a story that sort of he suggested the next letter and we had to come up with the next word. So it was kind of like inviting you to tell your story of the future that you want to imagine, but giving you a bit of a structure to do that. So it's not like tell your story, go, and like a fun, playful thing. So is that on your festival page or anywhere?
I
don't know if we've got that one recorded, but it's one he writes about in his book. I think he writes a few techniques in his book. So it's called From What Is to What If.
I like the idea of the alphabet thing because I think unless people participate, I mean, I do these presentations all the time in local councils and parish councils, so it is very much me standing up to talk about climate emergencies, that kind of thing, and it's very hard to get people to participate. It's a completely alien thing to do at a parish council meeting, to ask people that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think that the engagement things is so important for the climate change stuff that we're all trying to do, and it's just hopefully as the media pick it up more it will come easier, but the media at the moment don't really cover it in the right way, do they, the mainstream media? And they did with COVID, and that's why it was so everything happened so quickly and fast, because the media are picking it up because it's causing deaths in our country, and the moment it's causing deaths somewhere else away, not in our world, sort of thing. So it's harder for people to
it's always an issue of scale, isn't it? And making it feel like home and participating in home. Well, that's another so Nick, do you mind, not to boot you off, but do you mind
it's all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wanted to pull out in the chat, so Chris Dabbs talking about how people are telling stories of what they've liked about reduced pollution during lockdown. Could be again a way of telling stories about how you experience this different future. Sylvia saying, I agree, for change to happen, I feel like we need a story to visualize it. And then Rachel saying that XR Walton Forest posted haikus all over the borough written by people in lockdown. It's a very beautiful Instagram, a great example of people sort of being a platform where people tell their own personal stories that all kind of are personal about their creative agency, but then all add up to a greater mission. So we've got Phil finally. I'm not sure if Hannah's still here, but Phil, please go ahead. Oh, you are. Go ahead.
I'm here. Yeah, welcome, Phil. Oh, I think, are you on mute? You might be on mute. Should be a little sound. Oh, we got you. No, might not be able to hear you. Have you got a little, let's see, I don't think I can do anything about it my end. Just say something, Phil, just in case. Oh, oh no, we can't hear you. I'm so sorry. That's such a shame. We'll have to, yeah, I know a few people really, really wanted to hear about, and I'm afraid we've only got 5 minutes left, so I will put Home Farm in the link when I put all of our resources together that we're talking about. So yeah, just where I've got 5 minutes, just make sure we wrap up on time. It feels like we've had a really nice, engaging, lively discussion about all the different ways that you can participate. Have you got sort of any wrap up thoughts, Oliver?
I should probably plug. You asked me before. I'm not sure if you were setting me up to do this. How we can engage with you. Of course, there is a 2.5 hour, I guess, New Economy Program session on this in October. I should really know the date of it, but I don't. I'll just look at my calendar to see when that is. But yeah, we've run one of these sessions already with the New Economy this year. That was really interesting. We were able to go into some more detail, and people were able to actually kind of take time to start developing ideas and prototypes around what they could do for their organizations based on these modes. I think people enjoyed it.
I'm so sorry. I should know when it is as well.
Wednesday, the 21st of October is, at least I think, is in my diary as when we're doing the next one. So yeah, if you wanted to come along and explore this in more detail, create some more ideas and more of a kind of like a genuine workshop type scenario, please do join us in late October. And yeah, I think that'd be really great. It was really interesting last time because we had, again, a very diverse group of organizations and campaigns who were engaging with it, who asked really tough questions around like how do you make sure all this is inclusive, how do you generate participation opportunities for hard to reach, so-called hard to reach kind of parts of the community. I wouldn't say we particularly have the answers for, but it'd be great to welcome more people to that in October if you're up for it.
Such a good plug, Oliver. That was really good. Yes, we've got, so yeah, it's the third year of our New Economy Program. So yeah, building on what we've done, working with awesome people we've already worked with, like Oliver. So it's a really great, engaging way to kind of do next steps. If you would like to learn more, Oliver, thank you so very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Really, really lively.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No worries. And thank you everyone for your comments. What I will do is I will put a link for a Google Doc in the main event chat, so I suppose other people can pop in if they've got any ideas as well. And I'll see if I can capture like the whole chat as well and put that in there, because that'd be really cool. I'll invite you to have a look at that, Oliver, if you're interested.
Yeah,
so yeah, without further ado, we've got our last session coming up of the festival, and then beyond that, we'll also be doing a bit of a festival crew wind down, debrief, talk about what we loved afterwards as well. So you'll see that session pop up. But for now, it's going to be over to land ownership and racial justice. That's with Jacina and Mark, and yeah, I think Oliver's going to be there, as will I. So yeah, just leave you to say thanks everyone, another really engaging session, and see you all soon in some form or another. Bye bye.